I probably should move my microphone
It says the
closer.
stream is live.
Instagram, yes, it's agreeing with that. So that's good. Okay, perfect. Okay, so here we are. Hello, welcome.
Hello.
Hello.
How-
So this is Reading Between the Lines. I'm Sara, and I'm joined by my brother Ahren.
Hi
Hello.
there. I'm Sarah's funny brother, Ahren, and I read books and I try to write them badly, but we're working on that.
Yeah, we're working on that. No, I don't think they're bad, but I haven't read them.
I
So
haven't really written them yet. That's the problem. It's the learning experience that I'm having. I'm focusing on short stories, because
Mhm,
first it's like you got to learn how to tread water before you swim like the channel. So
this is true. So what I thought we would do, this is not necessarily like my monthly or our monthly book reviews that mom and I do, but Aaron and I want to explore different genres in fiction. And we thought we'd start with a very broad genre of sci-fi and just share our favorites. But in the weeks ahead, we will dive into other topics. Do we want to talk about those topics yet? Sure. We'll just tease it out.
sure. Well, let me show you something.
Yeah.
I have this box, and I meant to send it to somebody. I follow the Burning Man people, and I get this
Okay.
Jack Rabbit Speaks newsletter, and they announced this was like a year ago or maybe 2 years
Mhm.
ago. They said one of the camps at Burning. I've never been to Burning Man, but I thought it'd be fun to go. One of the camps at Burning Man was going to be the Burning Man Library, and they wanted people to donate their favorite books, and then people who go to Burning Man will just take one, and then if they have one they'll leave it, whatever. But this way the Burning Man community can share all their favorite books. So I'm like, yeah, that sounds like a great idea. And so I went and bought 5 books, and then I just got busy with working 10 or 11 hours a day, and I never mailed
Yeah.
the books. But I want to show you there's 5 books in my box, and
Okay.
so these are the books that I think I wanted other people to read. And the first one is Alfred Bester, The
Mhm.
Stars, My Destination. This is one that I wanted to talk about today. It's a sci-fi
Okay.
novel from 1956.
Ooh, we're
Um,
backlist.
yeah, yeah. What do they call it? Classic age, golden
Mhm.
age of sci-fi. This one has to do with alternate universes. The Invisible Library by Genevieve Cogman. So if we have an alternate universe discussion, that'll go in there.
Okay.
This one I'm guilty of not finishing yet. Sourdough by Robin Sloan. He's from Oakland, I think.
Oh, I thought Robin was a girl. Okay, good. Cool.
He also wrote Mr. Penumbra's 24-hour bookstore.
I
This book
yeah.
is really funny. It starts out with say this woman's living in apartment 11, and across from her is apartment 13, and there's these kind of weird gypsies living there. They're kind of weird creatures, like not like, well, they're weird people, and they seem to speak in a weird language, and they have their own funny culture, and she never really sees them. It's almost kind of like they're not from here.
Mm. Uh-huh.
Like, okay, so anyway, what she never really talks to them. They're always kind of busy and in their own world. And then one day somebody knocks on the door, and it's like the grandson who lives there, and he's like, hi, I'm really sorry, we have to go on a vacation. Yeah, that's it. Could you please watch our sourdough batter, and just all you have to do is add a little bit of flour every day, and
Keep it alive.
cover it, yeah, keep it alive and let it burp, and then go ahead, be free to use it. We just need you to keep it alive. And so she's like, okay, fine. And then that's it. The next day, they're out of the apartment, and she talks to a neighbor, and she says, those people in apartment 13, where they're coming back. And there's like, you can hear the crickets and see the tumbleweeds, and the person's like, no one's ever lived in apartment 13. And so then
Ooh.
at night, she'll feed the sourdough mix in her kitchen before going to bed. And at night she hears the sounds of singing by a campfire. And or she'll hear gentle whispers in the strange language that the people in apartment 13 would speak.
I really need to read that one. I'm
Yeah, and
writing
so
this
so
down.
it's getting into like, are these Fey realm creatures? Who were these people? And then I think she starts making the sourdough bread, and then people who eat it have fantastic like dreams. And so
Wow.
it's like magic sourdough. I don't know. I haven't finished it yet. So
Is this considered sci-fi or is this fantasy?
I don't know. Well, Mr. Penumbra's 24-hour bookstore was kind of a um, cozy version of the Da Vinci Code, where there was a
Oh, I like
secret book
that.
society trying to find out a secret that's hidden in the library by
Mhm.
piecing together all of these books in a certain way and figuring out how the books are connected to each other. And anyway, it's sort of a secret society of very intelligent, book people, and they all come together. And then some new kid who becomes like the night clerk ends up solving the problem himself. So
That
that's our
sounds really good
protagonist.
too.
Yeah. Two more. Okay. The Ladies Number One Detective Agency by Alexander McCall
Oh,
Smith.
that's a classic. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really classic. And I like that because he actually was born in Zimbabwe. And so he talks about Africa like it's a he ignores a lot of the problems and just focuses on the
Mm,
people and the culture and the fact that they're normal and just like us. And a lot of people, when
yeah.
they think of Africa, they think of AIDS and they think of crime and they think of warlords. And he I don't know, not paints it in a very positive light, but he just shows the people and the human side of the
The
Zimbabwean
relatability
culture.
of it.
Yeah, like they're not different. They're still people, and they still have their villages, and they still have their husbands and their wives and their jobs, and they still want to get along, and their kids still want to go to school and do well. And anyway,
Yeah.
so yeah, and he's such a fantastic storyteller. I went and saw him speak once at Kepler's Books in Menlo Park,
Mhm.
and I of all of the book signings and author events I've gone to, people like Alexander McCall Smith and Terry Pratchett, those kind of people, they're really good storytellers in person.
Yeah.
You just become enraptured. Like Terry Pratchett was talking about, well, he learned to write fiction because he was the what is it, public relations officer for a nuclear power plant in the UK.
Yes. I was gonna say, like, because in what I do for a living of marketing and branding, it's all about storytelling, and that's
Yeah,
what makes
yeah, it
it
is.
fun.
And so the sirens going off, no, that wasn't a bad thing. And the little orange cloud, we meant to do that. Yeah. So
Nothing to see here,
lastly,
folks.
my last one that I had that I was going to give away and kept, Oliver Sacks, The Man Who Mistook His Wife for a Hat.
Oh god.
So this is not fiction. That's reality, but it's a physician, a doctor, telling stories about his patients, and in doing so, we ourselves learn more about the human mind and how we're put together.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
all of those things, would be fantastic topics. Like if you had, a favorite reality book, like Richard Dawkins' Unweaving the Rainbow, blew your mind, then we could talk about that or something.
Oh, I love that idea too.
Yeah,
Okay,
but
perfect.
the other ones we were going to talk about are books about the devil, but he's sort of misunderstood. It's like, oh no,
Right.
he's not the devil. He's not really a bad guy. Give him a chance, that kind of thing. So
Yeah.
he's not necessarily okay. So Childhood's End by Arthur C. Clarke. I'll just talk about that really briefly because that's sci-fi.
Mhm.
Over time, this group of aliens has been visiting Earth. And every single time they scared the bejesus out of humanity, and they were like, sorry, we'll go away. You're not ready for first contact. Sorry. And then they'd try again. And the problem is they are gigantic horned devils with bat wings. And so every time the aliens that looked like gigantic bats with big horns and black beetle skin, they looked freaky and scary. They scared the crap out of humanity, and humanity made this mythos about the devils that
Yes.
came, and they were afraid. And so then the vision of the devil has been these people, but they're very kind and altruistic and want to help Earth. And finally, in the 20th century, they come and they're like, okay, well, we'd like to talk to you, but we're afraid if you look at us, you might not like what you have to see. No, we're Earthlings. We're made of stout stuff. Holy crap. Oh, geez, I
Too
didn't know you
soon.
looked like that. Can't unsee. So yeah, but eventually, like they sort of got used to them and then found out they were nice. And apparently, Arthur C. Clarke, that's considered hard science fiction because he designed
Hmm.
these aliens to live on sort of a low gravity gaseous planet. And so they would use their wings to fly from building to building. They didn't need taxis. They could just,
Right.
just sort of jump like moon men, you
With
know.
a soft landing. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And then let's see, what was the other one? Double
Dimensions, time travel.
yeah, time travel. That's right. Yeah. And so then time travel books. So double books,
Perfect.
time travel books, and sci-fi today. So
Good stuff. All right.
okay.
So why don't you start with your first one and then I will take a turn after you.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll read you some of the blurbs on the back of the Alfred Bester book. I keep wanting to call him Bestler, but it's Bester.
Okay.
I don't know who Robert Silverberg is, which is probably to my discredit. On everybody's list of the 10 great sci-fi novels, Robert Silverberg. I know this author very well, William Gibson, from
Yeah,
the
my favorite.
Neuromancer. Yeah. He says, I can't recall having met a science fiction writer whose opinion I respected who failed to share my enthusiasm for Alfred Bester's work. So that's high praise right there.
High praise.
Samuel R. Delaney, I think he's also another science fiction author, says, considered by many to be the greatest single sci-fi novel. I mean, that's
Wow.
a very high praise. I
And
don't
what is this
know.
one called again?
Okay, so this is The Stars, My Destination. I think it was
Okay.
originally published as Tiger Tiger. And
Oh.
the I wrote a little bit of a let's see, sort of the scenario.
Hmm.
The Stars, My Destination. It was originally published in 1956 in England by Sidgwick and Jackson. It happens in the 24th or the 25th century when human beings have discovered teleportation, personal
Mm.
teleportation. They call it jaunting, and it's like what is it in the Harry Potter movies where you can
Oh,
teleport yourself?
through the fireplace or like
No,
no, or
just
just
yourself. Yeah, on purpose you can teleport yourself. I forgot.
we are
I'll,
very sorry, Potter fans. I cannot
I'll
remember what that's
remember it.
called.
And then if you get stuck, it's called splinching. You get splinched between two, like your arm is over here and
Yeah.
the bus station, and then the rest of you is stuck in your living room. Um, anyway, yeah. So okay, so this personal teleportation has upset the social and economic balance. The inner planets are at war with the outer planets, and this guy, his name is Gully Foyle. A lot of these other planets are owned by companies, and so there's a company that's like an industrial mining company called Prestigen, and he's on a Prestigen-owned ship called Nomad. Gully Foyle is unskilled, he's uneducated, he's kind of unambitious. He's kind of like, chief vending machine technician, second class, like Dave Lister in Red Dwarf.
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay,
exactly. Just kind of an
so
average guy. Average
average,
Joe.
like lower than the average Joe.
Yeah.
He doesn't care. He's unambitious. He just wants to get drunk and get paid. Unfortunately, he's marooned on his spaceship when it is attacked. Oh, and so he's like the only survivor too. So after 6 months of waiting, finally a passing spaceship called the Vorga, which is also owned by Prestigen Industrial Clan. They come by, but they ignore his distress call, and then they abandon him. And so Foyle is enraged. And then his rage transforms him into a man consumed by revenge. So the rest of the story is
Mm.
he's like, okay, I'm going to get these people no matter what it takes. Even if it kills me, I'm going to get these people back. So he repairs his ship and barely survives. He's eventually rescued by what's called a cargo cult in the asteroid belt, where they just think whatever falls from the sky is like from God.
Yeah.
And so they tattoo him with the mask of a tiger on his face.
Oh my God.
I know,
Why?
it's sort of like you wake up, in the emergency room, and oh, by the way, we've given you tattoos of like guns and a teardrop, and because you thought you were in a gang war, right? So anyway, eventually he gets back to Earth, which is now called Terra, and he gets captured by Prestigen because he's a terrorist now. He tries to blow up the Vorga. but
Mhm.
he fails. He's interrogated and he escapes with his new friend, a very unfortunate name, Bella McQueen. And
Yeah,
so
that's different.
Bella, welcome to 1956, helps him escape, and he gets his tattoos removed, but it kind of doesn't work. Whatever they used, the tattoos come back when he gets angry. So if he
Oh,
ever hulks out, all of a sudden it's like whew, all over his face. He's got tiger tattoos. Anyway, so
wow.
the book is really fun, and it kind of goes on where she encourages him to not go and just destroy Prestigen, but to figure out who is the person who gave the order to, ignore your distress call.
Right.
Eventually, he gets into this plot where he discovers the ship he was on was hauling like this sort of illegal super weapon. It's called
Mm,
Pyre, and Pyre is like, like it's like a chunk of it could blow up a neutron star, like a
yeah.
teaspoonful of something like that. And it's like the most powerful explosive mankind has ever created. He manages to find it all, and the story goes on where he, in doing so, and he's kind of discovering and solving a mystery, his own mystery, and why
Yeah.
people do this to him. And then he gets involved in this conspiracy or this plot about what was really going on, and in doing so he teaches himself how to do jaunting better, farther, and faster than anyone else. And the book is
Wow.
called The Star's My Destination because he eventually realizes he can just teleport himself to another star. And so,
Wow.
people now need like spaceships to go, and they would take a
Yeah.
long time. Nobody knows how to do that. So, have you seen the movie called Lucy?
Yes.
It's with
With ScarJo?
Scarlett Johansson, yeah, and she like somehow she's got to be a drug mule, and they put these bags of, like, I don't know why drugs always have to be blue, but they're blue crystals, into her tummy, and then of course the drugs leak, and instead of killing her, they make her like superhuman,
Right, exactly.
and eventually at the end of the movie, she's able to transform herself into any shape she wants and travel through any time she wants. Like, she meets the Native Americans in Manhattan before it's Manhattan, and they're like, "Whoa, who are you,
She becomes
lady
yeah, she's
sitting
kind
in?"
of like a demigod or like a supreme
Yeah,
being.
she becomes like, in all of the sci-fi movies, mankind always evolves to an energy being of, pure
Yeah,
energy where they can go and do anything. So he kind of becomes that, at the end of this book. And there's a lot of sci-fi books that do that, like, explore what's the ultimate evolution of man. So
exactly.
I guess that's
Yeah.
one of the things that's interesting about this book is the plot is kind of fast, like the Martha Wells book I wanted to talk about.
Mhm.
I like Dean Koontz novels because, he's like, look, plot is a verb. Okay, plot, you can't just, describe it. It has to go somewhere. And Dean Koontz novels go fast. Martha Wells novels go fast. Like in the
Yeah.
first book of the Murderbot series, he like fights a giant space worm in the first two pages, and saves everybody. And the book hasn't even gotten started yet, and he's already saved the colony.
Yeah.
Um, and so, they the adventure like keeps moving, and they're a fast read. It's a little bit like the Girl with the Dragon Tattoo novels by Stieg
Mhm.
Larsson.
Yes.
I love those. I ate those
Those
three
are
books up in a
fantastic.
weekend.
Yeah,
They're fantastic, but I just sped through that. And so it's good when the author can hook you and not make you not want to put the book down.
exactly. I think that's one thing we should mention about, like, just sci-fi in general is that for people who are kind of cringy about it, like, "Oh, no, that's not my genre, I hate sci-fi." There's lots of
Yeah,
different types of sci-fi, which we are definitely gonna cover today, but, um, I like that it really does just it explores the possibility of what humanity can evolve to or become, which I think
yeah.
is fascinating. It's a looking ahead. So,
Yeah, like Star Trek was exploring, how, well, kind of morals and ethics of any
yes,
evolved
exactly.
us, and the prime
Yeah.
directive, and don't mess with other species. but you can't have a story without a dilemma, and the dilemma is that, okay, you don't mess with other species unless it's really important and you need to save them, and so then it's okay, and then you can break your rule. But the dilemma is, um, you you create a problem by solving a problem, and so you
Right.
create another problem. And so the dilemma for the prime directive is, well, sometimes we have to break it,
Yeah.
and so that makes the story of Kirk bending the rules or whatever. So
All right, so I'm going to talk about a middle grade sci-fi book that I think is fantastic and that everyone should read, which I know sounds a little strange, but this is the Wandla trilogy. That's Wondla. This is by Tony
hmm.
D. Terlizzi, and it was published by Simon and Schuster Books for Young Readers.
I've read. Oh, Dieter Lisi. Oh, he did the Dinotopia stuff.
Yeah, he did.
I've actually corresponded with him. He did a couple magic cards, and I wrote him letters, and I
Yes,
said I
so
really like this design, and he would write back, and he was like very appreciative. Yeah, he's a nice guy.
he's also like an illustrator then. Is that right?
Yes, he is an extremely good illustrator. He's
So
fantastic.
this is why I love this book so much, and it's great for like middle grade because the cover
Hmm.
is gorgeous. There is a lot of drawings and a lot of great, beautiful, like full color um, character drawings in the book, and so that's also really helps to have his creations, his characters come alive. Um, this
Hmm.
is a book. The first book is what I'll mention. This is about a little girl who's 12 years old. Her name is Eva 9. She lives in an underground
Hmm.
bunker with her robot mother. And when her bunker is destroyed, she has to venture above ground for the very first time. And being 12 years old, she figures, well, I got to find other people who are just like me. And what she finds is that
It's like 12-year-old Fallout.
it is 12-year-old Fallout, and she finds other bunkers that are empty and all the same setup, all the same toys. And it's a little bit curious, is she a clone? I think her name hints to that. Um,
Oh,
but like, so she's basically, in a way, kind of like she's hatching here. So she's coming above
yeah.
ground and she knows that she's supposed to look for other humans because she has a very vintage scrap of cardboard that depicts a little girl with red shoes and a robot, and they're walking down a yellow
Okay.
path. So she knows that there are other humans. So off she goes on this lush adventure. This is basically Wizard of Oz meets Alice in Wonderland meets dystopia. And it's not clear, if she is this Earth way in the future, or is this off world, another planet that humanity
Oh,
is trying to, like last ditch effort is to send pods of babies to live on another planet to save humanity?
right. I think
Or
there
is
was a
this
recent
Earth?
there was a recent movie called Mother, I think, that was very similar to this.
Yes, I didn't see that though. But yeah.
Yeah, and so the girl is being raised by a robot and
Hmm.
in a bunker. Yeah.
Now these books are not, I mean, this first book is not just all about like Eva in a bunker. Obviously she gets out and there's more adventures to be had. So
Mhm.
there's jungles, there's scaling cyberpunk cities, there's airships and
Oh, fun.
lovable characters and lots of creatures. So very, very
Okay,
fun and very imaginative. So yeah.
nice. When was that written?
Oh, good
So,
point.
oh,
I believe I want to say
recent.
2001 or 2002.
Okay, that makes sense.
Hmm.
Okay. Shall I go on and discuss Towel Day?
Yeah, what the heck is Towel Day? And
Okay.
today is Towel Day, right?
Today, May 25th is Towel Day, and I have my towel right here. It celebrates the Douglas Adams Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy novels, which I am quite fond of. I have all of the books in that he wrote in the trilogy. You can see there's 5 because Douglas Adams.
So it's a trilogy,
um,
but there's 5. That makes no sense, but okay.
yeah, there's actually 6 because after he
Oh
passed
God.
away, Ian Colfer, I think Ian
Hmm.
Colfer wrote some of the Star Wars novels before Disney bought Star Wars. They were pretty good. Anyway, yeah. So people kept loving it, and these are published by Folio Society. I think they were originally published by Pan Books.
Yeah.
Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy came out in 1979. It was also a BBC radio play.
Mm,
Douglas Adams is just my hero. He was in a Monty Python episode. He named a Pink Floyd album.
get out.
I mean, he's genius. The album called The Division Bell. I think he and David Gilmour um, and other band members were having like dinner, and they were coming up with this, where they were saying, well, we have this new album, but we don't know what to call it. And Douglas says,
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, if you give, 10,000 pounds to save the Rhinoceros Foundation, I'll come up with a title for you. And I said, yeah. And they called it the Division Bell because they had all experienced the English school system together, and that meant something
Yeah.
to them. So, but anyway, so Towel Day is a remembrance of Douglas Adams. He passed away, I think, in 2001 on May 11th, and he unfortunately he was exercising. He was like on a treadmill at a gym in
Trying to stay healthy. That's
yeah,
not fair.
yeah. So he lived in Santa Barbara, and then he passed away, unfortunately, and he was uh I, I I don't think he was 50 yet, which is very sad. But I think his daughter is his. He had one daughter, and so she's
Hmm.
survived, and she's done great things. And I think she's a solicitor, a barrister. Anyway,
Okay.
so Towel Day. The joke, like the number 42, is associated with Douglas Adams, and people are like, why? And then fans go, well, that's because 42 is the answer to life, the universe, and everything. And like, it's an important number. And then Douglas Adams just made it up as a joke. He thought, okay, what if everybody built a computer? What if these guys built a computer to discover what's the meaning, or what's the answer to the ultimate question of life, the universe, and everything? And it took 3 million years to compute. And finally, the computer comes up with the answer. And the computer is like, you're not going to like it. No, you must tell us. Are you sure you want to know? Yes, please. Deep thought. That's what they named the computer. Tell
Yeah.
us the answer to the ultimate question of life, the universe, and everything. And he goes, okay, the answer is 42. And then the scientists are like, oh crap, we're going to get lynched for this, aren't we? And then there was a riot, and they did. And so then they realized that they needed to build another computer to just find out what was the question to life, the universe, and everything. So
Yeah.
anyway, Douglas Adams, like things that are important to Douglas Adams people are always just a silly joke. On Towel Day, he was on vacation in like Greece or Santorini or someplace, and he kept asking his wife, honey, do you know where my towel is? Like, he was with another couple, they were always going out to the beach to have drinks and in the sand, and he's like, honey, I can't find my towel. And he thought a really good traveler would always know where his towel is.
Agreed.
And there's a quote. So the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy is like this fancy electronic book, and so basically one of the reasons why Douglas Adams is famous is because he kind of invented the iPad before it was a thing.
I see. Okay.
In the science fiction novel in 1979, no one had heard of an electronic book that you could look up anything in the universe on.
Wow.
Wow. And now we have, your iPad and Google.
Yep.
So anyway, so this poor character who gets lost from Earth, and he's now out hitchhiking in the galaxy. He's given a copy of this book, which is like, it's called The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and you can look up everything in case you're on Santraginus 5 and need to know what's a good drink to order. So
Hmm.
The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy has a few things to say on the subject of towels. A towel, it says, is about the most massively useful thing an interstellar hitchhiker can have. Partly, it has great practical value. You can wrap it around you for warmth as you bound across the cold moons of Jagiellon Beta. You can lie on it on the brilliant marble-sanded beaches of Santraginus 5, inhaling the heady sea vapors. You can sleep under it beneath the stars which shine so redly in the desert world of Kakrafoon. Use it to sail a mini raft down the slow heavy river moth, wet it for use in hand-to-hand combat, wrap it around your head to ward off noxious fumes or avoid the gaze of the ravenous bug bladder beast of trawl, which is a mind-bogglingly stupid animal which assumes that if you can't see it, it can't see you. Daft as a brush, but very ravenous. You can wave your towel in emergencies as a distress signal, and of course, dry yourself off with it if it still seems to be clean enough.
That's
So
fantastic.
people loved that. People thought that was great. And also, when Arthur Dent, who has a copy of this book, he looks up the entry on Earth, and it's only 2 words. It says mostly harmless.
Oh God.
Because we're so puny and dumb and lame that we only got two. Basically, we only got two words in the encyclopedia, and that's the name of the last book, mostly harmless.
Mostly harmless.
Yeah.
That's funny.
So anyway, so that's
I
kind of what Travel Day is about.
I have not read Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, so I don't want you to spoil it for me, but I don't know how I've gotten this far without reading it.
You should. It's a lot of fun, and I really need to reread them because they're a great trip, and the characters are a lot of fun. I think, however, by the last book, Douglas Adams got a little bit tired of the whole thing. He wanted to move on to writing these sort of pseudo detective novels, like Dirk Gently and the Holistic Detective Agency, and wanted to write about gods from Asgard and all kinds of funny stuff like that.
Would you say that Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, I mean, it's very comedic, but it's how would you describe it? Like, why is it so beloved?
It's definitely a comedy. Douglas Adams was an atheist, and he makes fun of religion a lot, which I guess a lot of people kind of who are science fiction people kind of latched onto.
Yeah.
And his humor about the foibles of mankind are in there a lot. And there's a lot of irony. In
Sounds like
one
Mark
case,
Twain.
yeah, I think so. And he also hated bureaucracy. And at the time in the 70s and the 80s, Britain was full of dumb bureaucracy, like Terry Pratchett was writing excuses for why the nuclear plant burped orange clouds, that kind of thing. Or just getting anything, you have to fill out all kinds of forms. And so that humor is in the book. The main character in the first couple chapters, Arthur Dent, the main character, his house is destroyed because the highway people are making a bypass and need to go through his house. And they're like, well, sorry, the notification's been on file at the planning commission for 6 years, so you just didn't bother to see it. It's too bad for you. And then meanwhile, the Earth is about to get destroyed by a group called the Vogons, whose society has been formed on bureaucracy. And the Earth is being blown up to make way for a hyperspace bypass.
Isn't that interesting?
Luckily, Arthur Dent's best friend is named Ford Prefect and happens to be an alien. And Ford Prefect was the name he chose because when this alien first landed on Earth, he thought cars were the dominant life form.
Oh God.
And so, he stood in the middle of the highway saying, hello, greetings. And Arthur actually saved him from getting run over by a car, which is called a Ford Prefect. That was the model, the Prefect. And so Ford said that was his name. Kind of like in the Tim Burton Alice in Wonderland movie when Alice meets the Red Queen. What is your name? From Umbridge.
Umbridge, yes,
like
exactly.
That. So Ford just names himself after a car. Ford is an alien and is able to use his electronic thumb to hitchhike a ride from a passing spaceship and get off Earth before the Vogons blow it up.
Oh, okay.
And it all goes crazy from there.
Oh, cool.
The books are tremendously fun. They're very humorous. So he hated bureaucracy, and then what kills the Earth is an alien race based on bureaucracy.
That's fascinating.
Yeah,
that sounds really fun.
His humor is very British humor. When I was younger, I really wanted to write like him because he'd have a little bit of a rambling writing style, But meanwhile, it was like a snowball, and the sentence would pick up funnier and funnier until it just blasted you at the bottom of the hill. So anyway, yeah, I
All
like his
right.
writing style. So
I have him on my list, so I will have to, my TBR is getting bigger and bigger. Um, so one of my other favorite books that I wanted to mention, not by a British author, Canadian. I think William Gibson is Canadian.
oh yeah.
Um, William Gibson, this is not my favoriteest William Gibson book, but I
Mhm.
can't talk about it yet because we're going to talk about dimensions and time travel later. So in the meantime, what I
Snow
can talk
Crash.
about,
Snow Crash.
no, Idoru.
I
So
don't think I've. Oh, I might have read that like in the 90s. Did it come out in the
I
90s?
don't It did. It came out
92?
in 96 by Viking
Oh,
Press.
okay.
I think because I read this when I was like 18 years old, I of
Mhm.
course identified with it because one of the main characters is 14,
Okay.
and I thought it was really fun.
Yeah.
I haven't read it in a long time, so I wonder how it will read like 30 years later, but
Mm,
this takes place in it kind of reminds me of, well, never mind. I'm going off on a tangent. Basically, Tokyo and San Francisco are now like the same place. So after the post Tokyo San Francisco earthquake, this is in a world in early 21st century. We have a couple main characters, and the first is basically his name is Colin. He's a data analyst. So he's hired to investigate, and he's hired to investigate this rock star named Rez. And Rez is Japanese. He's a pop singer. Think of him like a Japanese Mick Jagger.
okay.
So Rez has decided and claims that he wants to marry a synthetic personality named
Mm.
Rei Toei. Now, Rei is basically a Japanese like virtual idol. She's like a pop star, but she is synthetic. She's not
Oh,
real.
like a hologram singer.
She is basically an AI hologram type of
Okay.
like creation.
Yeah.
So his manager, so Rez, so Mick Jagger's manager, hires Colin to like investigate this because he feels like Rez is being manipulated by something else, wants
Oh.
to understand like what is going on. Simultaneously, while this news is broken that this Mick Jagger character wants to marry an AI, the like fan club Seattle chapter has nominated Chia Pet McKenzie to go to Tokyo. That's her name, Chia Pet McKenzie, to go to Tokyo to meet with the Tokyo chapter fan club to
Okay.
also investigate like what is going on. And so there's all kinds of hijinks. It's incredibly fun.
Mhm.
But I don't want to say like it's a comedy. It's not at all a comedy. This is very cinematic. It's very fast paced.
Okay.
Um,
It's
and I would
very
say that
cyberpunk then.
very cyberpunk. This is
Yeah.
a genre of sci-fi that is, I don't know. I don't feel like it's as prevalent these days. But even for 1996, I feel like this was decades ahead of its time, and it still
Okay.
holds some plausibility for even
Yeah.
now in 2024, especially with the AI boom happening.
Yeah.
Um, what I like about Gibson's writing is that he fully immerses you into the world. You can smell it, taste it, and touch it. And it's very techy, it's dangerous,
Mhm.
twisty, it's very like thrillery
Mhm.
as well.
Mhm.
So
I've
yeah.
just before I got on today to talk to you, I read the first couple chapters of Martha Wells' All Systems Red,
Yeah.
the Murderbot Diaries. She
Yeah.
does exactly what you just described. She immerses you,
Mhm.
like she'll describe like green grass going up to your knees, and that kind of thing, and then she'll just give you like 4 or 5 sentences while the protagonist is going somewhere, and you've got the world in your head now. She's
Yeah.
so good at that.
I love that about him.
Immersive.
Um,
You feel like you're there. Yeah.
exactly. He also William Gibson, for everybody else, he wrote, Johnny Mnemonic, which was,
A Keanu
um,
Reeves movie.
yeah, Keanu Reeves movie back in the day. A lot of different he's helped write a lot of different, like, scripts and TV series,
Oh,
so
that's great. Yeah, okay. I wonder if he uses Save the Cat and the different models like that.
it's possible.
I've been studying writing books on writing, how books on books, how to outline a novel,
Yeah.
how to write, that, or here's the 7 story points or plot beats that you get. So Yeah, it's interesting the technique and of storytelling. Once you start reading about it, you can see it and pick it up in books you're reading, and then you go, "Oh, I like that book because it does this." They do
Mhm.
hit the plot points, or the protagonist does have agency, or they
Yeah.
did show and not just tell. So,
I liked this one as well because this isn't just about this stupid rock star who wants to do this sensationalism type of branding stunt.
mhm,
He really feels like he has fallen in love with this hologram, and she feels that she is sentient. And how does the world navigate that? And so this is really later on in William Gibson's books, his later series, I think one of them is called The Agency. He has really delved into AI becoming sentient, and then
okay.
what we as a humanity do about that.
Now, a
So,
pretty good recent science fiction novel is, what is it? A Long Way to a Small Angry Planet?
yes, Becky Chamber,
Becky
right? Becky
Chambers,
Chambers?
right. That it has been very popular. I think partly because both of her parents work for NASA and they were able to help a little
Yes.
bit with,
Yes.
which is great. I mean, I think it's good when the author has good resources, like beta readers that'll say, "Oh, well, look, actually
Exactly.
the booster rockets don't work that way." Um, and I think that was the premise of that book, wasn't it? The
Mhm.
ship mechanic falls in love with the AI that runs the ship.
Yes, and then the 2nd book in that series, she is the main character.
That's correct, right. And then she always wants to stand in a corner on a ladder because that's her normal view when she's a camera on the ship. And people are
Yeah.
like, honey, you got to stop standing on ladders in the corner. It looks really creepy.
It's so
But
funny
I'm
because it's really a
comfortable.
comment. Yeah, it's a commentary on, like, her own social anxiety.
Yes.
So, it's just fantastic. Okay,
Well,
talk about Murderbot.
speaking of social anxiety,
Yeah.
Murderbot is a fantastic character because he's basically like
Is he a
a
he?
sorry.
Is he a he or is he a they?
Oh, that's a really good question. So, he's synthetic and organic, and so he's got organic parts. He does feel pain. He does have a human brain, but he's been augmented so much, and so it's kind of intermixed. In the first 2 pages of the book, which I actually would like to read, he he gets 20% of his body mass ripped off by a giant space worm that he saves somebody from being eaten by,
Yes.
and he just goes back to his cubicle, his little regeneration pod, and then it kind of can knit the flesh back
Like
on him, and
I like 3D
like
prints parts for him too.
yeah, it's like in Fifth Element when they're making Lilu out of like
Yeah,
the wrist gauntlet, and then they make the rest of Lilu,
yeah,
and so he does feel some pain. And I think later, after like the third novel, they explain that he actually, I don't think he has like boy parts, but
yeah, I think he is a they. I mean, it doesn't matter, but,
he's got a boy brain, and they refer to him as he, I think, in the
oh, they do?
story.
Okay.
Yeah, I think he kind of thinks he's kind of a male-ish, I guess.
I wanted
Yeah,
to also mention that he is basically like a security guard, like a
he's
space security guard.
a tech bot, which is a security robot. And yeah, and so in this future, there's all these companies that run like a solar system, and they own it and they mine it, and that's the company. And so it would be like if Oracle went to Alpha Centauri and then mined that, and then Google went to, I don't know,
Mhm.
Sirius and then mined that. And so the governments are the corporations kind of. And so
Yeah.
he's sort of hired by these corporations to help these people when they go to an alien planet. They're trying to do research that they don't get eaten by space worms. And like, if I let me just
Yeah.
read you the first couple pages, because it'll explain a lot about what and who he is, and his personality is very much like a PTSD sufferer who is like, oh
Yeah.
God, I have to go out in public. He's got his spacesuit, but he always
Oh,
makes his face shield opaque so people can't see his face.
he's like the Mandalorian, like, yeah, he can't see his
He's
face
he's like the
ever.
Mandalorian, but if the Mandalorian was like, "Don't look at me." So, okay,
Yes.
I'll read this to you. It's tremendously fun, and I like her writing style because she moves. And, plot is a verb. It goes. Chapter 1. I could have become a mass murderer after I hacked my governor module, but then I realized I could access the combined feed of entertainment channels carried on the company's satellites. It had been well over 3,500 hours, 35,000 hours or so since then, with still not much murdering, but probably, I don't know, a little under 35,000 hours of movies, serials, books, plays, and music consumed. As a heartless killing machine, I was a terrible failure. I was also doing my job on a new contract and hoping Dr. Valescu and Dr. Barawaj finish their survey soon so we could get back to the habitat and I could watch episode 397 of Rise and Fall of Sanctuary Moon. So he's like addicted to this like South
A
Korean soap
Korean.
opera. Yeah.
Yes.
He goes, I admit I was distracted. I was a boring it was a boring contract so far, and I was thinking about backburnering the status alert channel and trying to access music on the entertainment feed without hub system logging the extra activity. It was trickier to do it in the field than it was in the habitat. So he's hacked his governor and he's become sort of sentient, but doesn't want anybody to
Hmm.
know because if they
Yeah.
find out, then he can't watch a soap opera anymore. So
That's
he says,
basically his main motivation in life.
yeah, this assessment zone was a barren stretch of coastal island with low flat hills rising and falling and thick greenish black grass up to my ankles. Not much in the way of flora or fauna except a bunch of different sized bird-like things and some puffy floaty things that were harmless as far as we knew. The coast was dotted with big bare craters, one of which Barawaj and Valescu were taking samples in. The planet had a ring which from our current position dominated the horizon when you looked out to sea. I was looking at the sky and mentally poking when the feed of the I was looking at the sky and mentally poking at the feed, which is like his internet, when the bottom of the crater exploded. I didn't bother to make a verbal emergency call. I sent the visual feed from my field camera to Dr. Mensa's and jumped down into the crater. As I scrambled down the sandy slope, I could already hear Mensa over the emergency comm channel yelling at someone to get the hopper in the air now. They were about 10 kilos away working on another part of the island, so there was no way they were going to get here in time to help. Um, Conflicting commands filled my feed, but I didn't pay attention. Even if I hadn't borked my own governor module, the emergency feed took priority, and it was chaotic too, with the automated hub system wanting data and trying to send me data that I didn't need. Sorry. And yet Mensa sending me telemetry from the hopper. Anyway, it goes on from there where he basically in the next paragraph, sorry,
It's
he
okay.
saved somebody from dune space worms.
And it just kind of goes to show that like he is very much a lot of software, a lot of computer programming,
He
but he's
is,
also
and
sentient.
so sorry. Yeah, and so he's kind of like, all these computers want to talk to me, and I just want to ignore them, and then do what's right. So he likes
Yeah.
to make his own decisions. Like all of these
Hmm.
emergency things are happening. He's like, look, I just got to go save the dumb, fleshy, squishy people.
Yeah. Exactly. So that's Martha Wells. And she's very, very talented. She's written a lot of different
Yeah,
genres,
I
not
think
genres, but
she
like
did a lot
fantasy
of
as well.
fantasy stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Excuse me just a second. I'm all
Yeah. I can edit your coughing out later.
sorry. Can you hear me now?
Okay. Yeah, you're good.
Yeah. Okay. So there's 7 books. I'm getting over that cold. I got it on the London Tube.
Yeah, take
Um,
your time.
huh. So yeah, All Systems Red came out in 2017. Artificial Condition, the second book, came out in 2008.
These are also novellas. I was a little disappointed because I don't think people mention that as much. They are novellas. These are short, fast little reads each
Yeah.
book. So just be aware. If you get it, it's
Yeah, that
short.
kind of bummed me out because I was so digging it on the
Yeah.
Kindle. And then it was like over. And I was like, what? Wait, what? So
It's a fantastic series. I forget which book it is, but in the series, but you get to dive into more of his personality and his interactions with I think Rogue Protocol, he kind of stops working for other people and begins to work for himself, which is really cool. So he decides
Yeah.
the jobs he's going to
Well,
take. So
he calls himself Murderbot because when he had his governor and he just had his blinders on, he got hacked by somebody. Sorry.
yeah, he got hacked, and then he basically killed a lot of people.
He did. He killed like 32 people on a space habitat. And then they found out that, he didn't just go nuts. Somebody hacked him to do it, which is and so he feels very guilty about that.
Yeah.
So he's
And
really
that's
a
yeah,
security bot.
and that's why he's given himself this very like derogatory name.
Yeah, and so later somebody like looks at his logs and they find out he's referring to himself as Murderbot. Nobody
Yeah.
else calls him that. It's just his own self-deprecating nickname. So,
Mhm.
and it says a
Yeah,
lot about his character too. But
it's
yeah,
fascinating.
no, it's good.
Okay. I'm going to talk about you have sips of water. I'm going to talk about Project Hail Mary.
Ugh,
Um,
I get so excited about really good novels.
about Murderbot. Okay.
Oh yeah, Hail Mary by Andy Weir.
Okay. So this is a fantastic book. Now he wrote The Martian, Andy did,
Mhm.
and of course maybe we all saw the movie. I mentioned it to somebody the other day offhand, and I was like, "You remember that Matt Damon movie, The Martian?" And they were like, "Never heard of it." What?
What?
What? Okay,
Oh my
that's fine.
god. Ugh.
Anyway, you live under a rock. The Martian was fantastic. So this is by that same author. Now, I tried to read The Martian and I found it to be too cerebral for me. It was very science jargony. I went
Huh.
to art school. I don't know what half the stuff is that he's talking about. So I was really afraid. Like, oh, I had to DNF that book. I couldn't finish it.
Yeah.
So I thought I was just too dumb. However, I did pick up Project Hail Mary, and I found that that was easier for me to read. It was a little less jargony. And so I'll tell you about it. This was from Ballantine Books, and I
Sure.
forgot to write down the year, but it's fairly recent. So
22, 21. Yeah, Project Hail.
21
Yeah,
sounds right.
very, very, very recent.
Okay, so
I
I
can use my
also
Hitchhiker's Guide and look it up here.
yeah, look it up. Look on your iPad. I had to ask my brother to summarize this for me because I was having a horrible time summarizing this. Basically, the story follows two different storylines. Each are told chronologically. We start the story on board the spacecraft, the Hail Mary, where our main character is regaining his memory in bursts. But basically, this is a first contact book. Project Hail Mary is Earth's last ditch to save the world. So, Project Hail Mary is a ship. It's a last ditch effort to save the world. The sun is sick with a space bacteria, and also humans discover that not only is the sun basically dying from this bacteria, but other stars are also dying. So, basically, that's going to affect Earth. Earth is beginning to die. There's a lot of climate change happening. So we humans, we send people into space on a suicide mission to find a solution to the problem, and then send back data on how to fix the problem before Earth
Wow,
dies.
that's heavy consequences. So you can go,
But you
but
can't come back.
yeah, that's like,
It's way
throwing
too
yourself on
far.
a grenade. Like, wow. Okay.
You will die before you're able to get back to Earth.
But you'll help humanity by figuring out. Kind
So
of like
this mhm.
Interstellar, whereas half of those, like
Yes, it
4 or
is.
5 of them had like they knew, like Matt Damon's character in the Interstellar, he went to the planet and then he
Yeah.
knew, "Oh, shoot, it's too cold."
Yeah.
Okay.
Matthew McConaughey, right?
Matt well, so Matthew McConaughey went out to rescue Matt Damon in Interstellar
Oh,
because Matt Damon lied and said, "Oh yeah, it's good. Come, come, come." And then he really just wimped out and wanted to be rescued because he knew he was
okay.
on a no rescue mission. So he was naughty. So
I'm all confused because my Matt Damon movies are all the same now. Anyway, but thank you. That yes, you're right. And Interstellar was fantastic. If no one has seen
mhm.
that, you should. Anyway, this is First Contact. There are other civilizations that are trying to solve the same problem. And so this is a story about two different species who come together, figure out how to communicate with one another to problem solve together. This was fantastic. The other, the alien that our main character meets is so incredibly different and non-human from us, and it just seems almost impossible at first to figure out how they're going to communicate, but they do figure it out. And it's a beautiful friendship story as well as being very like NASA-y, very spacey,
Yeah.
very like
I
yeah,
think they
survival.
call it hard science fiction when it's very technical, and
Yeah.
then soft sci-fi is kind of like, these are not the robots you seek, Jedi mind trick kind of stuff. And
I feel like this was a perfect blend for me because I could still understand, we're talking about bacteria and there's a lot of like in the lab doing things
mm,
and I could still grasp what was happening. So,
sure. That's
yeah,
yeah,
so that's
the author has to not lose the audience, or know your audience, I guess, is the most important thing. Because if you start
mhm.
writing, well, it's if you have a YA novel and then you start doing analytic or organic chemistry in the middle of it in a
Well,
lab
that
scene.
was my problem with The Martian because the main character is a botanist and who doesn't love plants and botany, but my God, for me, I couldn't do it. So that was just my own problem.
Yeah, no,
Um,
that's all right. No, I went to UC Santa Cruz for five semesters as a I wanted to be a botany
yeah,
major,
yeah.
and they just want to push you towards the pharmaceutical industry and molecular pharmacology, make
Molecular
drugs.
pharmacology. Yep.
So,
So that's the last of my book. I wanted to chat with you about book collecting, but I don't know that we have time for that, so we'll save that for
oh,
another time.
I'll
Um,
show you the book that I got in Edinburgh. No, I bought it. I got it in Cork recently, and I bought it because of the end papers. I know you're not supposed to judge a book by its cover, but I judged this one by the end paper. Puzzled with.
exactly.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Anyway, it's
It's
signed first
beautiful.
edition. It's a fantastic cover, um, and I think it's kind of a gothic mystery. It says a thrilling trick mirror of a novel full of twists and
Oh,
turns, myth and menace. Um,
a trick mirror of a
yeah,
novel. Wow, I love that.
it
Oh,
says something is stirring. Miss Catherine Simmons feels apprehensive when she arrives to take up a position as a governess at remote Locksley Abbey in the foothills of the Black Mountains, where England bleeds into Wales. It,
good grief.
dun 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 dun. It
Wow.
is not the echoing near empty house with its skeleton staff that frightens her, nor the ancient woods that surround the abbey, or even the dogs that the owner, Sir Roland, encourages to stalk the grounds, baying for blood. We've mentioned blood twice now. It is
Mhm.
Catherine herself who fears scrutiny, her very identity fraudulent. She is traveling in disguise
Oh,
to investigate the fate of the last governess at the house who took her own life out in the woods. For that governess was Catherine's own sister Emily, who until now Catherine had believed to have died many years before when they were children.
grief.
In
This is
Rosie
like
Andrews, hmm?
so twisty.
Yeah, and Rosie Andrews' extraordinary follow-up to her Sunday Times best-selling debut, The Leviathan, an isolated forest becomes the unsettling, beguiling backdrop for a tale of myths, memory, and murder. So, and then
Mhm.
here's the signature page.
This is a big stag with antlers and
Stag and her signature. Yeah, and it's fantastic.
mistletoe.
I love really well done hardbacks, and that's why
I
I
do too.
collect the Folio Society novels, or not well any books, because they do these slipcases, and like
Mm.
this one's got like sparkles on it. I don't know if you can see how sparkly it
Oh,
is, but
she's like in space. There's like sparkle. Yeah.
yeah, space and sparkles and stars, and they get illustrators too. Let me see if I can randomly. Oh yeah,
Yeah,
here's Arthur Dent. Arthur learns how to fly. So this is Douglas Adams' sense of humor. The trick to flying is falling and then forgetting to hit the ground.
if it were that easy. Yeah.
So anyway, yeah. So Folio Society books, like if you really love a book, like I think they just recently published a collector's edition of Wizard of Earthsea by Ursula K. Le Guin.
Oh,
And
yeah.
if you're a massive fan of her and that book, then they have this limited edition, which is just beautifully done. So you can own a good copy of your favorite book.
I would say, yeah, Folio Society does classics, like
Mhm.
republishing, not republishing, but like
Well,
making beautiful editions.
they recently did the what is it, The Long Journey to the Small Angry Planet by Becky
Oh,
Chambers.
they did?
Yeah, so
Oh,
they're starting to
shoot.
do stuff like that, and
Like more
they did.
modern day classics too now.
Yeah, they just did the Philip Pullman novels, His Dark Materials, the Subtle Knife and all that stuff.
Yeah,
So
cool.
they'll do other stuff, like they'll republish Agatha Christie novels, and they'll republish Roald Dahl novels.
So
So
something for everybody, every genre.
yeah, they're really good, and I think there's almost too many books for them to do because people are always clamoring, this is my favorite, this is my favorite. So,
Yeah.
like, I think they just did a series of all of the Ian Fleming books for the 007 fans.
I was gonna say the James Bond, yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
exactly.
So if you
Cool.
want that edition, you can get them. I thought it was great that they did all of the Douglas Adams novels. So
Love that. All
yeah,
right. This was very fun. Love you very much. Thank you for chatting with me. This was
my pleasure.
and so next time, I forgot what we're gonna do. We're gonna do dimensions or time travel or one of those, but I'm very
Yeah,
excited
maybe
about
some
that.
time travel books because
Let's
there's
do
a
time
couple.
travel.
Okay, that's
I just
cool. Yeah.
sent Tomoko a time travel book that I really enjoyed. I was gonna
All
send
right.
it to you, but I forgot. So I
All
get
right.
to
Very
talk
good.
about it and share it with you.
Yeah, that's good. There's a couple that I can think of off the top of my head that I think they're all recent. I don't think they're like 1930s time travel. Not like um, H.G.
What's
Wells'
his
Time
name? Yeah,
Machine, but
I these
more
ones
recent.
that are definitely contemporary, and as I was saying to you yesterday or whenever that was, I have found that within the subgenre of sci-fi time travel, there are genres of time travel I do not like, which we'll talk about too. So,
Oh, weird. Okay.
yeah.
Uh, I guess you wouldn't consider a time travel movie. Um, what's the one where it has to do with Donnie Darko? That one. Is that a
Oh,
time?
I
That's a
missed
movie
that.
about a time. Donnie Darko, I think, is a time loop he gets stuck in.
I think that counts. Time loops count. We can
I
talk
guess
about that
so.
too.
There's another movie called Triangle, which is really good, where a woman meets this murderer on a ship, and it turns out it's just her from 2 hours in the future.
No. No, 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 no. I hated that movie.
You didn't like that
That
one.
was oh my god, that gave
By
me
the way,
nightmare. That was
at the end,
disturbing.
speaking of devil stuff, the end of the movie, the taxi driver who picks her up, he's the devil.
Yeah.
Dun dun.
What?
Sorry, spoiler alert.
What? Oh
And
my
so he
gosh.
picks her
Yeah.
up and she does this loop over and over again. That's her eternity, is to murder herself.
Oh
It's
my god, oh
terrible.
my god, oh my god, oh my god.
Well, anyway, so I don't know. I thought,
Oof.
yeah, well, time travel movies and time travel books, I guess they're different. So we'll talk about books.
Okay. Books. All right. Love
Okay,
you.
good.
Talk to you
Okay, my
later.
friend. Bye.